Hello, 8th graders, and welcome to the third lesson here in Unit 9, which is Lesson 10.3, Quotient of Powers Property. Okay, so quotient, remember, means to divide. So we're going to be talking about dividing things with certain exponents. So your two different icons are I can divide powers with the same base, and I can simplify expressions involving the quotient of powers. All right, skip and warm up. Let's go to our essential question. So how can you divide two powers that have the same base? So ultimately, you're going to have maybe a problem that looks like this. You've got x to the third out of, x to the second. Okay, how am I going to solve this? Well, my base is going to stay the same, just like it was before, okay? But what is going to happen with these exponents? Okay, think about maybe what happened with your multiplication. What happened when you multiplied them together? What do you think is going to happen based on if I divide them? Okay. All right. So if I'm going to use what is this quotient of powers property to divide powers with the same base, subtract their exponents. So this time what I'm going to do is the base stays the same, and all I'm going to do is subtract the exponents. So I'm going to take, it's going to be a base of 4, and I'm just going to subtract the 5 minus the 2. 5 minus 2, so then I get an 4 to the third. Okay. In my case of my example here, when I take 3 minus 2, that's x, or that's 1. You could say x to the 1, but remember, usually you don't leave just an exponent of 1. So your answer would just be x in this case. Okay. So in this one, we are subtracting your exponents. Okay. Let's keep going then. Let's look at some examples here. Okay. So your first one, you've got a base of 2. Okay, I've got exponents of 6 and 4. So ultimately what I'm doing is I'm taking this 6 minus this 4. Okay, so I'm going to find my solution. My solution in this case would be 2 squared. Okay. Again, just leave it like this. Don't worry about actually finding 2 squared. Okay. Your next one, the bases are the same, so the rule applies. So -7 is my base. Whoa, I'm so sorry, guys. -7. Woo. Okay, you're going to take 9 minus 3. So ultimately, then you're going to have a negative. Let's make sure I can get the 7 better. -7, there we go. To the 6. Okay, you're just subtracting those exponents. This one is kind of hard to see, but it is h to the 7th and then h to the 6th. So you're taking 7 minus 6. Again, like I was telling you before, that's going to be h to the 1, but we don't usually leave that as h to the 1. H to the 1 means the same thing as just h, so let's leave it as h. Okay. At any point you're confused, feel free to pause this video, go back and look at the note part, or you can ask me questions as well. Reach out to me on Google Classroom, daily Zoom meetings, leave a comment below, email me, whatever works best for you. Okay, I want you to try these ones on your own, so go ahead and stop the video. You are going to simplify the expression. Remember again that simplifying is you're just simplifying and I'm not actually evaluating and finding your answer, okay? Write your answer as a power. So again, I don't want to know what is 9/7, okay? Just simplify your power. So pause the video. When you come back, I will have all the answers written out. All right, welcome back. So your answer for number 1 should be 9 to the 3rd. Number 2, you should have just 4.2. Number 3, it is -8 to the 4th. Again, I kept it within that parentheses. And your last one, you should have x to the 5th because you're taking 8 minus 3 gives you 5. All right, well, let's keep rolling through. All right, next one needs to simplify this. Write your answer as a power. Now, in the previous lesson, so 10.2, we talked about this multiplication, okay? If you remember what we do with the multiplication of this is we are going to add the exponents. So when I start off with this, I'm going to start by adding these before I do any division, okay? So I'd have 3 to the 4th times 3 to the 2nd all divided by 3 to the third. Oops, 3. Woo, not 1. All right, so I'm going to do the top part first. They're all the same base. So what I'm going to do is I add these two exponents. Okay, 4 plus 2 gives me 6. So now I have 3 to the 6 on the top. And divided by 3 to the third. So then I just use that one that we just learned, and we are going to take these exponents and subtract them. So I'm taking 6 minus 3. So that's how I get 3 to the third. Okay, do it one step at a time. Talk about that first part first. Okay, a lot like those order of operation kind of things, where in the case where I've got everything being divided by something, you want to do whatever on the top first. Okay, let's keep going. All right, next one. Now, there's two ways I could do this one. If I wanted to, I could multiply across first, or I could divide them out first. In this case, I think it's going to be easier to divide out first, okay? So when we use division in this case, we're subtracting those exponents. So let's start with this, okay? So a to the 10th, again, we're simplifying. We just run it as a power, so I don't actually need to know what is a to the 5th, because I don't know what a is, so I can't figure that out. Starting with this, a 10th and a 6, when I subtract these, it means I'm taking 10 minus 6. So in this case, I now have a to the 4th, because 10 minus 6 is 4. Okay, ultimately, I'm still going to have this multiplication equation left. I'm just simplifying within here right now, and I got a to the 4th. In this case, I get a 7 minus a 4, so 7 minus 4. Okay, that's going to be a to the 3rd. And my last step, when I have this multiplication here, means I'm going to add in my exponents. So adding them together, I get a to the 7th. All right. You could have done it the other way if you wanted to add these. I think across you'd get a 17 and a 10. When you divide, you still get this answer. So either way works if you want to do the multiplication part or the division part first. Remember though, that changes what you're doing with your exponents. You're not multiplying the exponents, you're not dividing, you are either adding or subtracting the exponents. Okay. All right, so go ahead to the next part and simplify these expressions. So just like we were doing, just keep your answer within a power form. I don't want to know 2 to the 5th or whatever the answer is. Okay. Let's go ahead, pause the video, show out your work. Whenever you are done with your answers, go ahead, click play again and see if you got your answers right or not. All right, hello and welcome back. In my first one, so problem number 5 here, what I did is I added the two exponents in the bottom. Then I can do the division part, which means I'm subtracting those exponents. You get 2 to the 7th. Okay. Here I did the subtraction of my exponents first, and then I'm going to add them, and I get D5. Same here, I did the division first, then I'm going to add them. So division, remember when you're dividing, you're actually you're subtracting the exponents, okay? So you get 5 to the 5th and 5 to the 3rd. When I add those exponents together, I get 5 to the 8th. All right, let's keep going. All right, so the next question is a word problem here. It says the projected population of Tennessee in 2030 is about 5 times 5.9 to the 8th. Predict the average number of people per square mile in 2030. All right, so here's our ultimate question. Predict the average number of people per square mile in 2030. Well, when you want to figure out the people per square mile, you're taking the amount of people and you're dividing it by the amount of miles, okay? So the projected population is right here. That's 5 times 5.9 to the 8th. So I'm taking the number of people and we're going to divide it by this. So I'm going to rewrite this as 5 times 5.9 to the 8th. Okay, and we're going to divide it by the square miles, and the land is right here, okay? Let's divide it by this 5.9 the 6. Now, this 5 and 5.9 are not the same base, so I cannot combine them together. What I can do, though, is these are both 5.9, so I can use this quotient rule and subtract my exponents here. This 5 is just going to be left out to the side. I'm going to simplify just this part. So really, I'm going to be left with 5 times 5.9 squared. So I'm going to figure out what is 5.9 squared, and then I'm going to multiply by 5. Because this time I actually want the answer. Didn't say leave it in exponent form. Okay. 5.9 times 5.9 gives me 34.81, and then I'm going to multiply by 5. Looks to be that I get 174.05 is my estimate. So now you can have a 0.5 or 0.05 of a person. So what I'm going to predict this is, I'm going to say about 174 people. People per MI mile. Okay. So that's how I solve this one. Okay. I am going to have you try this on your own one that goes very similar to like that to this one. Okay. So this time it doesn't have the map, but it says the projected population for Alabama in 2030 is this 2.25 times 2 to the 25th. The land area is 2 to the 17th. I want you to predict. So just similar as to what we did. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video. Try and solve this problem. When you come back, I will have the answer. Again, make sure to pause the video. You do the work. Come back when you have the answer. All right, thanks for coming on back. So I just took that 2.25 and multiplied it by that 2 to the 21, and then I'm dividing it by the 2 to the 17th. So simplifying this 21 minus 17 gives me 4, so I'm going to start with that. So 2 to the 4th, okay, is 16, multiplied by that 2.25, and I get an answer of 36, okay? People, I don't know, per mile. I'm trying to simplify it. So there's a lot less people in Alabama than there are in Tennessee. Because in Tennessee, you've got about 174 people per mile. Alabama, only 36 people per mile. Okay. All right, we're not worried about this. So your final homework page, again, if you want to be working on those workbook pages, you are more than welcome to give yourself some extra practice. Otherwise, your homework is going to be that 10.3. Give me a second to remember what date that is. I believe that's going to be due the 19th. And it's a little hard for me to always remember when doing 7th as well. Yep, it's going to be due on the 19th. Now, that's a Sunday, so make sure you're getting these done, okay? Get them done on Big Ideas Math. Due by Sunday. A lot of people, I'm making sure that you're doing it correctly. Otherwise, I'm deleting it and making you redo it, okay? That is the last lesson for this week, so enjoy your weekend. I will see you again here on Monday, starting with lesson 10.4. Have a good weekend. Bye.